All rise. The jury's present and accounted for.
Thank you. Please be seated. Back on the record, State versus Bundy, State versus Schmidt, jury's present and accounted for. The parties are here. Foreperson, has the jury reached the verdict in all matters?
Yes, Your Honor, we have.
Please hand that to the marshal. Bundy, if you please stand. State of Idaho versus Ammon Bundy, case CR 0120-34189. On the charge of trespassing, we, the jury, unanimously find defendant Ammon Bundy guilty. On the charge of resisting, delaying, or obstructing an officer, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant Ammon Bundy guilty. Yet this first day of July, presiding juror. Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Mr. Schmidt, would you please stand? State of Idaho versus Ammon von Schmidt, case number CR 0120-34187. On the charge of trespassing, we, the jury, unanimously find the defendant Ammon von Schmidt guilty. Dated this first day of July 2021, dated and signed, presiding juror. Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does either party desire to have the jury polled?
The state is not.
Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, you've now completed your duties as jurors in this case and are discharged with the sincere thanks of this court. The question may arise as to whether you may discuss this case with the attorneys or anyone else. For your guidance, the court instructs you that whether you talk to the attorneys or anyone else is entirely your own decision. I also may add that I have required any party here in this case or any attorney who wishes to talk to you first to obtain permission from this court. It is proper for you to discuss this case if you wish to, but are not required to do so. And you may choose not to discuss this case with anyone at all. If you choose to, you may tell them as much or as little as you like, but you should be careful to respect the privacy of your fellow jurors. Remember that they understood their deliberations to be confidential. Therefore, you should limit your comments to your own perceptions and feelings. If anyone persists in discussing this case over your objection or becomes critical of your service either before or after any discussions have begun, please report it to me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your willingness to serve on this very important matters, and you are hereby discharged with, again, the sincere thanks of this court.
All right.
Please be seated. Counsel, based upon the verdicts, I'll just inquire as to the parties' respective desires on how to proceed. Do you want to proceed to sentence today, or do you want me to give you a date of sentencing to come back to? What would be the state's preference?
The state is prepared to go to sentencing right now, but we leave the matter in your Honor's discretion.
Counsel. Mr. Schmidt. All right. I heard first from the state.
I'll address Mr. von Schmidt's recommended sentence first. There is a mandatory minimum fine in trespassing. The state requests that you impose that. That's $500 pursuant to the statute. The court has no authority to go lower than that, and that the court impose court costs. The state requests 3 days of jail and 3 days of credit time served for Mr. von Schmidt. Regarding Mr. Bundy, my sentence is going to be a little bit more involved. I think the conduct is clearly different, and that's why. Under the two Hill factors, we look at rehabilitation, and I honestly don't believe that our misdemeanor criminal justice system is set up in order to give somebody like Mr. Bundy an opportunity for rehabilitation. I don't know that that's a realistic goal, and I don't even know if that's a goal for Mr. Bundy. So that two Hill factor is really not at play in the state's recommendation in this case. Similarly, with regard to protection of community, that is the most important two Hill factor, but don't, at least as far as the conduct of this case, and the court heard all of the facts, this was a passive resistance type case, the facts of August 25th. With that being said, I asked the court to look at the bigger picture with regard to Mr. Bundy, with regard to the factors of punishment and deterrence. It's under these two factors that the state is recommending 15 days of jail, and I believe that he has 3 days credit. I could be wrong on that. That he'd be remanded today. Your Honor, Mr. Bundy is a leader. People who follow leaders look to what happens when they take action. And so the deterrence aspect, I think, to people that follow Mr. Bundy, and people can believe whatever they want and they can act however they want, but there are consequences. And I think that remanding Mr. Bundy to custody would send a message to these people consistent with that you can't just do what you want and not be accountable. And no one is trying to silence Mr. Bundy, but in Idaho right now, the laws apply and the laws are enforced. And I believe that a sentence that sends him to jail, to think about that, if nothing else, is again, well as send a message of deterrence and punishment, is appropriate. Recommending a $500 fine and court costs on the trespassing, a $250 fine and court costs on the resisting and obstructing. And resisting and obstructing, 10 days of jail. Leave 3 days credit concurrent to count one.
Is the state seeking or requesting either defendant be placed on probation on any charge?
I've thought about that, but no. I don't think that we have an interest in if the choice to be non-compliant continues as it has in Mr. Bundy's life. I don't think that we need to be in that position.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop.
The defendant, Ammon Bundy, submits to the judgment of this honorable court. Thank you.
Mr. Bundy, is there anything you'd like to say on your own behalf? You're not required to make a statement, but you're free to do so. Mr. Schmidt, you're also free to make a statement and or to comment on the state's recommendations.
I'm the only provider for my family, so I live a long ways away. I've been doing what I can to get here as much as possible, but this has to take that consideration.
Mr. Schmidt, I'm going to start with you. I don't know you. I don't know a lot about you. You've always been respectful to this court, kind of a soft-spoken guy. I thought you were very kind and courteous to the jury, respectful to them, the counsel, but the jury has spoken. On the scale of seriousness of offenses, this is low. You don't have any prior record, from what I can tell. I think you were truly filming Mr. Bundy's arrest to protect him. Like you said, I believe you. I think one thing about this case that was interesting to me was when Speaker Becky testified, or rather it was Sergeant Higley testified that we have an open Capitol, one of the few left in the United States, that you don't have to go through a metal detector, you don't have to be bonded, you can walk into this thing during regular business hours unabated. And it's a marvelous facility. We all know that. We all love it. It's our capital. And it's a powerful place. It's where debate, protest, laws are passed. Heck, I've done weddings there. Marvelous place. It's a festive place. It's a place to be celebrated. And there's probably no more honorable chamber in the entire Capitol than the Lincoln Auditorium, because it's a dedication to a man that meant so much to this country and gave a lot. It's a very reverent hall. This really could have been avoided very easily. It's a shame that it went this far. 10 months, 4 days of trial, thousands of pages of paper filed and decided, processed in this case. I agree with the verdict in this case, in your case. I don't know if your situation warrants even any more than what the prosecutor's asking for. And I also appreciate and adhere to the fact that people are not penalized in this country for going to jury trial. They're just not. They shouldn't be. And I'm not going to do it. In your case, I'm going to impose 3 days jail, give you credit for 3 days. I really thought about putting you on unsupervised probation. I'm not interested in entering any trespass order, but the state didn't want probation in this case. And I don't see any reason to have you on probation. You live in a different part of the state. You come down here and for all your court appearances. Obviously, we have an issue whether you made one or not, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to order you pay a $500 fine in court costs. How long would you need to pay that? I believe the court costs are $157.50. The total will be $657.50 that you have this court. I'll give you time to pay. First payment in 30 days. How many months do you think you need?
Well, I'm in between moving, so it's
10 months?
we have to try that. I really don't know because this whole thing is affecting my income, so 50 as long as you can.
10 months to pay, first payment in 30 days. All right. If you agree to that sentence, you sign this. If you don't agree, I'll consider an alternate sentence. I mean, if you agree to pay the fine, that's basically what you're agreeing to pay.
I'm just agreeing to pay the fine, not.
You're not on probation, so that none of the terms and conditions of probation apply. Okay? If you don't want to sign it, you don't have to, but I'll consider an alternative sentence.
When do I guess I'm not.
You get to decide right now today,
Okay.
before I move on to Mr. Bundy, whether you're going to sign it.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, so, okay, do I have to go today to jail or?
No, I'm not putting you in jail today. I'm giving you credit for time served. You've already served 3 days. I'm giving you credit for 3. Post 3, give you credit for 3. 0 is served.
So just pay, get my enough.
Yeah, first payment's in 30 days. Agree to that? Sign it. We'll make you a copy of that. Bundy. Court, oh, you can sit down. Yeah, this court's given your case a great deal of thought and energy. And quite frankly, I've struggled thinking about this point in time in your case and what to do if we ever got here. The prosecutor is right. There's certain factors that I weigh as a judge in deciding sentence. Aggravating mitigating circumstances, your background, including prior criminal record, the need to punish you for the actions, deterrent effect on you and others, possibility of rehabilitation, what risk you may pose to the community. As far as the mitigating and aggravating circumstances of your case, again, I felt both of these charges are kind of on the low end of the scale. The trespass was in one instance not a very aggravating one, and another one, in another light, it could have been just because of the resources that it took, the consternation that it created because of your popularity, your following. The O to me, I've seen a lot of those, and it's not that you took a swing at the police officer, not you swore at him, not you tried to kick him. So I think that was on the low end of the scale too. It was more you being a pain than really, or as your attorney, I think, summarized passively resisting. You're a smart guy, Mr. Bundy. You're a clever and sophisticated man. You have the ability to wield great political power because of the people that believe in you. I believe a lot of your testimony. I believe that you did this for your family. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to be incarcerated for a couple of years for something you get acquitted of. That would leave a bad taste in anybody's mouth. You have every right to have contempt for the judicial system and the justice system. You do. I'm not taking issue with that at all. But there's a way to protest. There's a way to voice your displeasure for government. I really contemplated just remanding you into custody today and holding you for a sufficient period of time and kicking you loose. I really did. But, you know, I have to have just cause to do that. You're not a risk to the community. You're not a danger or a threat to people's well-being. You're not a violent man. You've, again, showed up for court. Again, we have that issue whether it was a failure to appear or not. We're not going to get into that. You were here out front. You don't have a criminal record. I don't see where you've ever been convicted of crime. I haven't heard of it. What do I do to punish you and deter you? I don't know if there's much I can do. I don't think you're a guy that's going to be deterred. I don't think this case is going to alter or change your path, your beliefs, or your passion about your rights and your liberties. That's fine. Do you pose risk to others? No, I don't think so. I wish you would have gotten nothing left. Really do. It would have saved all of us a whole lot of heartache, a whole lot of time, a whole lot of resources. But again, you have the right to proceed and challenge the state's case. I agree with the verdict in your cases too. Well done. Let's go trespass. I'm going to give you the same trespass sentence that I gave Mr. Schmidt. 3 days imposed, credit for 3, 0 to serve, $500 fine and court costs. No probation, no further jail. No. I don't know if there's much to be gained by that. You are now. I really wanted you to be on unsupervised probation for a year in that case, but I have a feeling you're just going to refuse that. And you wouldn't agree to anything. So, and I also heard in your testimony that your family's on vacation, you want to go join them. And I think you've spent enough time away from your family in the hands of our criminal justice system. Not that you don't deserve to go to jail if that's what you do. And I truly believe that. I just don't see the upside to throwing you in jail today. And in fact, I wasn't going to put either of you in jail if you wanted to continue the case or sentencing. Just wasn't going to do that because I don't think you meet the criteria for it. But I want you to give me a little something more than 3 days on the RNO. I want you to give me some public service. And working for your own organization or that is not going to count. It's got to truly be public service. It's got to be a 501c corp. It's got to be a church. It's got to be truly a nonprofit organization. You can't get paid for what you do. You can't get credit for anything you've done in the past. I'm not putting you on probation, but if you fail to complete the terms of your sentence, you're subject to contempt, just like Mr. Schmidt is. Each act of contempt, punishable by up to 5 days jail and or a $5,000 fine. So I'm ordering the following sentence: 8 days, credit for 3, 40 hours public service in lieu of 5 days. I'm going to give you 180 days to complete that. That adds $24 onto the fines and costs. That adds $24 in workers' compensation on the fines. I'm going to fine you $250 plus court costs on the RNO. Slap on the wrist maybe, but not the crime of the century. Yeah. Certainly not a federal case, as they say. Although it sure seemed like one. In a lot of ways, it really, really did. I advise both the defendants that they have 42 days in which to appeal this sentence or any other order entered in your case. If you do wish to appeal, cannot afford an attorney, want to be appointed at state expense. Gentlemen, I wish you both well. Mr. Bundy, do you want a payment plan on your fines and costs? I want to give you 30 days just so you got time to reconnoiter and send it in. Mr. Schmidt, you have a $300 cash bond in your case. I'm applying that to your fines and costs. It's going to reduce it. Okay? I'm taking that, putting it in the hopper, but you're getting credit for it. All right? Mr. Bundy, do you agree to the public service and the fines and court costs in your case?
Yes, I'll figure out the definitions of it, but yes, I agree to that.
The public service is on your own. You set it up, you do it. All I want is in 180 days, a letter on the letterhead of the organization you perform the service through, filed with the court. That's all you got to do. Saying someone with authority on their letterhead will sign off and said you did the hours. Okay?
Jail time?
No jail. The 40 hours is in lieu of jail. You're both walking out of here today. Free men. You may not think so, but that's the reality of the court sentence today. I don't have any beef with you guys, and I do wish you both well and good luck in your careers. Safe travels to you, Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Bundy, I'm going to sign this. I did impose court costs on both of the fines. I'm going to give them 180 days. And I am entering convictions on all counts. Both counts. Counsel, any questions about the court sentence?
No, Your Honor, I'll facilitate the discussion.
All right. Court's in recess. We'll get you copies of the paperwork, but we'll make you a copy. You'll have a good 4th of July. That's good. All right.
All rise.